is clear. How my baby's running this the block cause you fear what you do to you if you get dirty hands in veneer. What you do, what she is, little boy, I tell you this. If baby won't sit, she can sit. If baby says lit, it's lit. Got your bank account in that cube. If she said it loud, it's the truth. If baby wanna ride, she can ride. If baby needs some time, she got time. Got your bank account in that cube. She can make it count, how about you? She would put you in the bag, wouldn't even need a planet. If she wanted, she a magnet. They should let her name a planet. Everything she drop like Corona, viral, make the world start over like a owner. She ain't about to set, but they really wanna throne her. Listen, she like bass, she like Hover. Self-employed, moving paper better than some Billy boy. Made a choice on the regular, she bring.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming out to another episode of Unapologetic with Mandrell and Shushu. This is my youngest sister and co-host, Shushu. Say hello. They ain't seen you in a while and they've been asking about you. You're muted.
I said, what's happening?
Okay, what's happening? What's up, Sherelle? We're going to speak to the chat first. What's up, Sherelle? How you doing? Dusto's here.
Right, what's going on?
What's going on, Von Bryant?
Hey, Vaughn.
Yeah, we got other people out there watching. Princessa, how you doing? Oh, she says hello to you.
What's going on?
Not
Hey,
to me,
Princessa.
though. Not to me, though. Ain't that something?
Oh, don't be mad. You mad?
Nah, not at all. So we're going to be dropping the link pretty early tonight. This is not going to be a particularly long show, but we're here, and we're here to talk about morality. Morality, okay? All right. Webster defines morality as a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. That's the definition of morality, right? Okay. Are you a moral person?
I think so. I mean, according, to the values I was taught and, the values I believe in, I think I'm moral. Pretty moral. I stick to them.
You got to live that way. Are you clicking your mouse? Why? I can hear that.
Yes, I am.
Canadian boy Nigerian, what's going on, man? How's it going? And Lady Navoa, how you doing? She calls me man.
Man. Hey, Lady Navoa.
So you see her in the chat and she said, man, she's talking about me.
Right. Man, I'm so done.
Black David, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Thanks for coming out. It's good to be back, I suppose. All right, yeah. So that's morality. A person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do. Right. All right. Now, what are the
morals or idea of morals aren't the same?
Yeah, we're going to get into that too. Okay.
Right.
We really are because I have this debate quite often with some of my friends and stuff like that. And largely we're on the same page. Largely we agree, right? Okay. So chat, I want to hear your thoughts too. Y'all come up when we drop the link. So here's one of the more aggravating talking points that I've been hearing around. Is that morality is subject to a person's own views. I'm like, no. That ethics and morals, the ethics and morals that we have currently exist because whether or not a person believes that something is either ethical or moral is entirely up to the individual. This is not a good argument, and it's also false. Confusing.
With that, the somebody's moral values or their moral code is like up to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true though.
No, it's not a good argument, and it's dangerous. It's a dangerous
It
mentality
is
to have.
dangerous. I agree with that, but I mean but it is a true statement.
What's up, Car Scar?
Because that's part of the reason why a lot of people adopt religion, because religion is it has or established a certain code of ethics or morals to guide you and live your life by.
Yeah, but confusing morals and ethics with personal taste is just incorrect.
But let's just be real. Everybody has their own moral code and own value system. Because let's just be honest.
They have their own values.
There is a system of morals that people are taught. But then everybody has their own system of morals that they actually live by. Now you can claim to be a part of like a certain moral code or system, but the system you actually like for real in real life live by is something different.
The thing is, those are principles. Those are what you're describing are principles. There aren't morals and ethics. I mean,
well, no, that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, what I learned in the entertainment industry showed me that, and when I finally understood how people in business think and how they could conduct themselves, I understood.
Yeah, it's just I know what you're talking about. It's just business. I mean,
like for example, sleeping with somebody to get a role would eat me up inside. Because for me, it's a moral issue in terms of like, oh my God, like I done sold my soul. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I've given my body for this. Whereas you have, and there's a lot of people out here who don't look at it from a moral, it's not a moral issue for them. Okay. It's a business. It's just business. It's transactional. Right.
But that doesn't make it moral or ethical. It's still unethical and still immoral. That's why that's why people think about it first. And they wonder, is it worth it or not? You know what I mean? Because they know what they're about to do is immoral and it's unethical. But the question they're asking themselves is, can I live with this decision if I do this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How far are you willing to bend the rules as far as ethics and morals? You know, how far you... So they know that is not a good thing. But they're able to sleep at night because they're like, hey, to them, the juice was worth the squeeze. You know? To them, that's where the personal taste comes in. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is the risk worth it? Because you risk a lot of things. If you're a woman, you risk getting pregnant. If you're a man, you risk getting her pregnant. Or both of you risk catching an STD. You know what I'm saying? Or you risk getting terminated because of crossing an ethical line with a potential coworker. Or
when you talk about like in the workplace environment, like it's an unethical practice, but like from a personal moral perspective, like for some people, it has nothing to do with morals at all.
Right. It's personal taste, which is principles. Those are their own personal principles. Like, okay, yes, you are perfectly capable of having your own will or your own thoughts, but ethics and morals are universally agreed upon unspoken human rules. Which are usually written down in things such as laws or religions. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to think, like you and I follow the 10 Commandments, right? You know, don't steal, don't kill, don't covet nobody's wife. You know, you and I follow the 10 Commandments, right? So religion, some of our morals and ethics are rooted in, well, the vast majority of our ethics, you and I, and morals are rooted in Christianity, right? But you also have laws that say a lot of the same things. You can't steal. You go to jail. You can't, you know.
Right.
Now, read this. Now, obviously there are moral and ethical gray areas. As society shifts through time, those gray areas, they may either get larger or they may get smaller.
Right.
There's also an area that has never had a moral grayness, and that is the taking of human life.
Right.
You know, while I do wish that I could say that everything on earth has a concrete moral or ethical score, unfortunately, that's not reality.
Well, no, because even there's a gray areas there.
Where?
In taking human life.
No, taking human life has never had a gray area.
But there is.
It's still unethical to kill in self-defense.
So it's better for you to give your life than them, so they can go and take other lives.
No, in my opinion, but that's my principle.
So, like, how is it not? There are no gray areas.
What do you mean?
But see, here's the thing. Like, when you talk about that, and here's where we got to be careful with morals, quote unquote, what's ethical and what's not, because certain choices, certain decisions aren't up to us.
Yeah,
like,
here's the thing. You could
you know what I mean?
Yeah. See, I agree with you. If someone sticks a gun in your face, are you gonna do the moral thing and let him kill you, or are you gonna go back to your primal instincts and defend yourself?
Well, if
decisions.
But here's the thing too: if it's a primal instinct, because yes, it is a primal instinct, to protect yourself. Your body has ways of protecting itself, like your mind, like it even kicks in like to protect itself. How is that? Where is the how is that unethical?
What?
Or immoral? If your primal nature kicks in to protect yourself, to defend yourself.
Because it's never moral nor ethical to take human life.
Says who?
It never has been in any society. It's never been. Well, unless it's sanctioned by the government. So there you go. I'll give you that. I'll give you the gray area, because executions and stuff like that.
Or if you get a good enough attorney can get you off of anything.
Shut up, Tommy B. What's up?
Just saying. Good enough attorney can get you out of anything.
That's true. And Tommy B doesn't get to speak to my sister until we argue sports. The Super Bowl is taking place. He ain't done it live, so we can argue it. None of that. He has a YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel called We Argue Sports. Hadn't done anything
What's going on, Tommy?
He hadn't done anything in like 8 months. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. What I was saying is, like I said, well, I do wish that I could say that everything has a concrete ethical and moral score. Unfortunately, that's not reality. Things that were once moral are now considered immoral, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Things back in the day that were immoral are now moral. Like for instance, you take smoking marijuana,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Smoking marijuana has never been unethical. It's never been immoral either. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. How has that never been immoral?
Because listen, if that's immoral, why do you smoke cigarettes? Not you personally, but people.
I'm saying though, like according, like if you go to church, you talk about you smoking marijuana, like they might say that's unethical because it's altering your mental state, your current mental state.
So does aspirin.
But aspirin isn't considered. It's not considered.
No. This is a debate you will lose.
It's not considered. It's not considered immoral. You can take medicine.
But here's the thing: how is marijuana considered immoral? See, that's due to propaganda, negative propaganda. Just like black people being bad and we only eat chicken and watermelon and all those crazy stereotypes. It's because of just bad propaganda that's been thrown out in front of everyone's face over time. In our case, hundreds of years. Right. Black people, we've gotten a bad rap for hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? So that's why people have such a negative, and we've been forced to stay in places that aren't the safest to live in. Mm-hmm. And we've been given for generations, we've been given no way out of that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that gave us that helped paint us in a bad light. The same thing with marijuana. It was about money. You see, paper companies, they cut down pine trees and make paper out of the pine trees, right? Well, it takes years to grow a pine tree big enough to make paper. Mm-hmm. Whereas you have hemp or marijuana, this grows in a couple of months. Mm-hmm. Full-grown plant. You make paper, you make clothes out of it, all kind of stuff. So they found a way to say, oh no, that's bad. It does this to you. But see, if you drive while you're high, you get into an accident. It's like anyone who does it will tell you, no, that's not how that works. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's never been immoral to smoke marijuana. You know what I'm saying? But if it is, why is hold on, stop. If it is immoral, why is it immoral to smoke marijuana, but they allow people to smoke cigarettes? When you go to the hospital, they give you morphine or fentanyl Yes, and we know what fentanyl's been doing to people out here in the streets, killing people like that, right?
Yeah.
Why are these things that are far, far more deadly for you moral?
I know.
Wait, hold on. Circumstances aside, why is that moral when we know for a fact that marijuana, cigarettes cause cancer? We know that for a fact, irrefutable. Marijuana inhibits cancer cell growth. It stops cancer from spreading. This is an irrefutable fact. That's good for you, okay? Why don't they regulate it, tax it, and sell it like other states in this country and other countries? You know, how is that the immoral thing to do when you get more good things out of it than bad? But
once they saw how much California was making, they started, you know what I'm saying, all the other states was like, let's see. Now, first it was it Utah or Colorado or one of them that made it legal at first. And then California saw like, ooh, they all making how much? Okay, let's do that. And then, like, you know, everybody starts seeing how much California making. So, like, you know, I mean, once they see the turnover, or once the government found a way to make money off of it, now it's like, oh, yeah, you know what? We was just playing this whole time. Y'all can smoke weed. It's all right. It's legal. You know what I mean? Just make sure you go to one of our dispensaries, though.
And that's what they're doing. Like, they gave out a lot of licenses, you know what I'm saying? And then they have government sanction. Tommy, be in the chat. Tommy, if you click the link when we drop it, we're going to drop it in a little bit because we're not going to be doing a long show tonight. But yeah, come up and tell us about your, because Tommy goes to dispensaries over there all the time. Okay. I've watched Tommy roll one up while he's on the line. Like, he'll hold it away from the camera. He doesn't do it on camera. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, man, I know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? I know what you're doing. I see you.
Hey, it's legal where he is, and it's not immoral.
What's up, Andre Terry? What's up?
Right? That's the argument you made.
Yeah. But yeah, there's things like that that are once moral, because for generations marijuana was moral and there was nothing wrong with it. People have been smoking it since who knows how long, right? But all of a sudden, when money got involved and it became competition for a big industry, instead of planting their own fields of cannabis, since they had the capital to just drown out all the competition at the time, no, they did the dumb thing and just said, no, make that illegal to help out industry, because America has staged coup d'etats to help industry, business interests.
Yeah, of course.
We've literally taken over countries for the interests of private business. Yeah. This is an irrefutable fact. You cannot argue it. If anyone out there wants to argue me on that, I will bring receipts, and you will lose.
Right.
Believe me, you'll lose that one. But anyway.
Trey says actually almost every state has had marijuana legislation for the last 20 years. Whether they moved on it is another issue.
Well, here's the thing. You can't come to Alabama and smoke marijuana, or Mississippi, or Florida, or Texas, or Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina. Yeah. Basically anything south of the basin.
Yeah, part of that too is like in the southern states, like anywhere under the Mason-Dixon line, like they really don't have much to do other than like pick on people for petty things. So like a police officer stopping you for marijuana, like in the South, they would do that. Up here, it's like the most they would do is write you a ticket. And if they stop you, it's because they like using it as an excuse to like really check and frisk you for something. Like, but other than that, like here, like our police force has so many other issues that are so much bigger than weed. Like before they actually made it, like technically it is legal, like here, because you know they open up more dispensaries and stuff. But like if a police officer were to stop you before they actually like made it legal though, like if a police officer stopped somebody for weed, it was only because they were using it as an excuse to search that person for something. Yeah. But other than that, like people smoking weed in the street, all the time, and police officers wouldn't say nothing to them because I mean, like I said, they got bigger issues. But if you go to like smaller states, smaller areas and stuff like that, where they don't really have a whole bunch of crime or like the same issues as bigger cities, like, yeah, you'll get arrested for weed.
Von Bryant, I'm gonna get to Von Bryant's question right here. Hey, hello, beautifully animated. What's up, information man? Before I move on to the next one, because the next one might be a little controversial. This is where people are gonna debate me on and say, they're gonna disagree with us and stuff. Now, Von Bryant, question: is it possible to abuse marijuana? Well, it's possible to abuse marijuana in the sense that it's possible to abuse anything.
Yeah.
It's possible to drink too much water. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so, but is marijuana going to put you out of commission? No. Is it going to make you act ridiculous? No. Drunk will do it. Drunk's going to do that. Drunk, yeah. If you're drunk, you get behind the wheel of a car, you're probably going to get into a car accident.
Yeah.
A traffic collision.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if you've been smoking marijuana, nah, probably not. Because people who do that, they pay attention. Like, I don't know what it is, but it makes them focus up. You know what I'm saying? And you'll find people who have smoked it will say, like, I don't do it. It's a personal choice for me. I just like, why? You know what I'm saying? But I don't see anything wrong with it at the same time. There's nothing immoral about it. She said she's never seen marijuana abuse. And you know what? Neither have I. I've never seen marijuana abuse.
I'll tell you, yeah, I have. And I'm gonna tell you what marijuana abuse is. If you can't go 5 or 10 minutes without smoking a blunt, you have a problem. Like, if first thing in the morning you reach for, like, you don't get nothing to eat, you don't get nothing to drink, you got to roll or smoke a blunt first thing in the morning. And then, like, 30 minutes, 40 minutes later, you gotta smoke another one. You have a problem. You got a problem. It's people out here who got problems. Like, you can't go more than 15, 20 minutes without smoking. You need to see somebody. Because you got a lot on your mind, on your plate. You need to talk to somebody. Because that's not it.
Papa, we ain't signed this quote.
Huh?
I was telling the admin to pop up. We ain't signed this quote right there.
He says,
no, not that one. The one before that. The one before that. Right above Black David. We ain't signed it says morals stop growth. Shout out to VP Harris. You know what? We ain't signing. You know what the sad part is? I can't argue with him.
Oh my God. Okay.
Let's be honest. We all know.
Listen. I'm telling you, it's for some people doing what you got to do to get where you got to go. It's a moral issue, but for others, it's just business. It's all transactional.
Yeah, it's still immoral.
And that don't weigh on their conscience. They don't care. It worked. That's all that matters. It worked, and I'm where I want to be, boo.
Fair enough.
That's all that matters.
Now, here's the thing. All right, this is where you're gonna probably get people to click the link and come up and ask me questions about it. I hope you do. Okay, I hope you guys do, so I can flesh it out and answer your questions. Personally, I don't believe.
You can go ahead and drop the link.
Personally, I don't believe that morals and ethics genuinely apply to the human psyche. Okay, this is because the human psyche is subject to change and it's fickle. I actually believe that morals and ethics and values have been tied into human beings since the beginning. Personally, I think that you are born with an innate understanding or ability to comprehend right from wrong. And there's in this baseline, very, very baseline and primitive understanding and ability to comprehend right from wrong is where your morals and your ethics branch off of. It branches off of that. This is why, like, it's so important to teach a kid right from wrong, not to steal, not to lie, things like that when they're as young as humanly possible, so that they can get these good principles to branch off of their innate understanding of right and wrong. Like, you take a baby and that baby sees a toy on the floor, right? It doesn't know that toy belongs to another child, but it crawls over there, picks up the toy, is playing with it, it's having a good time. It thinks, okay, it's mine now. No one got it, it's mine. But you walk over and take the toy from the kid. Uh-oh, bad. You took my toy. It doesn't, it understands that to get something it wants, good. To have that taken away, bad. That's the way the baby's brain is interpreting these events. Again, it's very baseline, very primitive, but it is there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we have that from the beginning for the reasons of survival. We know that hot, too hot, warm, okay, that's good in the cold. But if it's hot, like you learned when you were a baby, mama had to tell you 18,000 times, don't touch that stove, don't touch it, and you touch the stove.
I've always had a mind of my own.
Never had that problem again. You touch the stove one time, your brain interpreted as bad.
I've always had a mind of my own.
Yes, you have.
Thank you.
But you learned the hard way that time, didn't you?
No.
Daddy
said you got to think for yourself.
He did say that. What's going on now? What do you think?
What's going on, Tommy?
Now my idea of morals, I don't think it genuinely applies to the human psyche, morals and ethics. Like I said, it's because the human psyche is subject to change. What we thought was right or okay at one point in life, our minds change on some things. You know what I'm saying? Like Obama said when he came to gay rights, he said, "I've evolved on the issue." Well, that implies that at one point in life he disagreed with it. Now he's had a change of heart or a change of mind. You know
that's gonna be my answer from now on. Yeah, I've evolved on the issue.
It's multi-layered. I think the reason why we have such a issue with it is because we live in a place that's literally morally bankrupt, but we sell ourselves as being the moral authority. Case in point, like somebody in the comments was talking about, like our healthcare, like everything in this country is corrupted somehow, some way by money.
It is.
And so even if you was talking about like taking over countries, like the poppy fields in Afghanistan, and then we just so happen to have an opioid crisis, not really a coincidence there. You know, you go back to the crack era and how they not really a coincidence there. So I think generally, what you're saying is true, because the number one rule of being a human being is self-preservation. So that alone challenges your morals, because you might face a situation where you might have to go against those morals to survive. And your number one rule as being a human is self-preservation. So what you're saying, I think, is absolutely right, as far as like they bend and change, change depending on the situation. I think the problem is in America, it bends and changes based off of the dollar. As me and you both know, we've been in the military and seen the bullshit we seen. You know, it literally hinges on the dollar. Like you said with Obama, it hinged on the dollar. He got a nice check to start thinking differently about them folks. And forget Obama, the church is now bending on that same thing for that dollar. You know, you got the Pope coming out, saying, hey, it's not that bad of a sin, because they calculating that money that's coming from that community. Like, wait a minute, we need in on that. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's the same reason why, like the church learned to market towards women. Like my sister and I were having this a conversation right before we went on the air. We're on the phone, right? And we were talking about Wakanda Forever. It's because businesses have learned to market towards women because women spend more money. So if they're marketing towards women and people in the LGBTQ community, they're trying to get them to spend money and get them to donate money to like churches. You know what I'm saying? The church is trying to put forth this air of acceptance and tolerance. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And just to get them in the door. And if they get in the door, they start paying tithes and offering. You know? So like you said, it's about money. I mean, because life is going to challenge your morals and your ethics. It's going to. Like William Sonic keeps talking about, hey, if you get rid of your morals, you'll make more money. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right, though. The biggest, I can't argue with it.
And I was going to tell you, the biggest issue with the marijuana thing is, so unlike tobacco and unlike alcohol, it's extremely easy to create yourself.
Yes.
So with that being said, it's extremely easy to get around taxes. And that's why a lot of states are so reluctant on doing it, because I can just literally in my garage grow it myself, and I don't have to go to your dispensary and pay your high ass taxes, because the taxes on that shit is high as hell. I mean, I've seen places out here where it's as much as 50%. So,
wow,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's crazy.
To make a profit if it's 50%, you paying half of it in taxes.
No. I'm saying they're charging the customer that in taxes. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. It's like, it's insane, but Yeah, so that's just a marijuana thing, like why so many states are kind of reluctant, or because, like I said, alcohol. I mean, you can make moonshine, but you have to actually know how to do that, and it's kind of a process, yada yada yada. And then
Yeah,
cigarettes,
and it's explosive. So if you mess with the
exactly,
moonshine,
exactly. But marijuana is literally you go on YouTube and figure out how to grow that.
mm-hmm, that's true. We
Uh,
ain't signing, my man. Um, but here's the thing: we ain't signing his philosophy, though. Shoo, he's not wrong because the higher up the economic ladder you go, the more of your morals you're gonna have to.
But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The mindset is not. It's not morals. They don't look at it as a moral issue. It's not morals at all. It has nothing to do with morals.
Doesn't matter what they
You know, no matter what it is, it's just all transactional. Like and you know, they go to church and everything.
But that
you know what I'm saying? They got religion and all that other stuff too.
But what they do business
and church is two separate things.
But let me tell you why I think you're wrong, though, Sushu. If you ever, I can't think of the name of the movie, but they had a movie where they show how oxycodone was promoted. Dope sick, yeah. So that right there is a perfect example right there where morally anybody would say that's effed up, but they still push it because they got that bag behind it.
Right. Yep. And yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, especially like when it comes to quote unquote business, like, you know, I mean, it's whatever for the dollar. Or whatever for the dollar. Like there is the mindset is like, you know, and that's a because this is how they would validate something like, for instance, with the oxycodone issue. Like this is how they would validate. Oh, well, they don't have to take the medicine. Like, yeah, they could go and get it, but they don't have to take it. Like with, you know, liquor stores and stuff like that. And it's funny because my mom was trying to get like some of our aunts and uncles to go in with her on getting a liquor store, but like my aunt had, you know, this whole thing. Oh, it's not moral and all this other stuff. But my mom was like, listen, I'm not making anybody come to me to buy anything from me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I can have a store, but I'm not making them come and buy it. That's their choice. They ain't got nothing to do with me.
I mean,
and that's how most people look at it in business.
Yeah, but like we even faced it, like, you know what I'm saying, like in the hood, like, you know, when you out there serving, a motherfucking mama might come up to you. And the way that we get past it is, well, if she don't get it from me, she gonna get it from somebody else. We still can't hear you, we ain't signing.
Exactly.
I didn't even heard motherfuckers serve their own family members and just say, you know, I'd rather him come to me than go to somebody else and get bad product. You know what I'm saying? So even to our level, you know, you see it.
Yeah.
Hey, so hey everybody, hope everyone is.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay, cool. So I want to make 2 points.
Hey, we ain't signing. Stop sending them goddamn balloons over here, bro.
Hey yo.
Oh, no, I can't talk, bro. Bro, don't get me shot.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Come on, bro. I'm the only nigga over here. Yeah, I ain't gonna get my ass if they snatch me up either. So I want to say this. When it comes to the church thing, right? I think that's where morals and ethics kind of conflict, right? Because ethics is about following and applying the rules and guidelines. So in the Bible, it clearly says how God feels about that particular group. But morally, some people might say, well, you know what? We need to be inclusive, right? We need to show love because that's like one of the guiding principles. Mm-hmm. So this is an example. I mean, I know some churches are for money, but this is an example of where morals and ethics kind of collide at times, right? Where do you follow the letter of the law, or do you follow, you know, the social norms of today's society and kind of follow your heart and follow your morals?
Right.
Same thing in the workplace. This is the second point. For example, if I had a job and my female boss asked me to eat her out for a job promotion, ethically, it's wrong. But I do have a moral obligation to myself to achieve as much as I can. So as long as she was disease-free it would be morally incorrect for me not to.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I do
Is
not.
it true?
No, it's not.
It's
I do
true.
not co-sign with that. I don't subscribe to it. I disagree vehemently.
Right? If he's free, it would be morally wrong not to.
No,
Remember
that is
that,
not
guys.
a moral.
Horrible.
That's not moral. We ain't signing it. You know it. Wow. Nope.
Yo,
I won't do it.
It's not on the cover.
I pass the mic. That's my 2 points.
That's hilarious, by the way, and I'm probably gonna steal that for some reason. I'm gonna hold that for later. That's
So we ain't signing. Do you not think that the rise in LGBTQ people and the church accepting that, you don't think that's a financial situation?
No. For the most part, I would agree with you. I'm just saying in certain situations, but I do agree that the church is money based just in general, right?
Okay, gotcha.
They do like what 12 average church does like $12 million a year,
Yeah.
but infrastructure in the hood ain't shit. So they definitely, it is a money grab, right? Because the money that churches make and tax free C301 whatever.
But I'm saying even up to the Catholics, like you even got the Pope, and we know they ain't hurt for money.
I would say they're morally wrong because of all the kids that they're raping, but they do have a better social give back.
Yeah.
In Catholic communities as opposed to Black communities, right? Like you can go to a church and say, "Yo, I'm hurting," right?
Right. Yeah.
Right, but in a Black community, they'd be like, "I'll pray for you." Right.
Right.
The Catholic church will give you some money. And that's also
I agree with that,
ethically fucked up too, right? That's also ethically fucked up.
No, I agree with that, but my thing is because like I grew up going to Catholic school, so I know how tough they was on LGBTQ. Like that was a no nonsense.
Right.
So now when you got all the way as high as the Pope, giving bail to them, it's like, okay, like I've always looked at it and been like, okay, they looked over there, they did the numbers and said, okay, we need in on this.
Right. No, I mean, no, I agree with you. In it as a whole, church is a money grab and a way to tame the people, right? It's the greatest way to kind of tame and control the people overall, right? Because the Bible doesn't even talk about church. Religion is not a thing. It's supposed to be a way of life. But when you're incorporating a religion, is absolutely there to control the masses. Is absolutely there to take to limit their financial resources. So I have no pushback on that. I think church is probably one of the most destructive things that human society has experienced.
See, I agree with you. What we sounded like, it's not. I don't think it's supposed to be about religion at all. It's supposed to be about a way of life.
It's a
but
culture.
the people. But I think a lot of people can't separate the two.
Right.
And understand that, like I tell people all the time, I'm not religious, but I do believe in God. You know what I'm saying?
Well, historically, right?
So people just can't, for some reason, don't understand. Well, how is it even possible? I'm like, it's my way of life. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I mean, historically, right before Constantine and Nero, Rome, actually before Rome, right?
Mm-hmm.
People worshiping a religious service was just their way of life, right? We eat this way, we have these holidays, we have these festivals. There was no temple, there was no church. We farm, we do things according to our culture and nature, right? And people just kind of followed their way of life according to the God they're served. And you can look at their way of life and say, oh, they're serving this God, that God, right? But it was no every one day a week you do this, you go do that, right? People had people's lifestyle and culture kind of just dictated the God they served, but there was no thing until religion until Constantine and Nero, right? Gotcha. And so I want to make that clear.
And for me,
yes, beautifully animated. If I was working for someone, I absolutely would sign my check with a tongue if I could get a raise.
Okay, fair enough. We're gonna move on to the next person. Thank you, Asana. But for the record, I'd like to say this. I personally think it's immoral for the church to treat people bad or ostracize them or cast them out because of their lifestyle. Whether they agree with it or not, that person's there to worship God. No sin outweighs the other. So I don't think you should even look at people differently because of their lifestyle. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to treat anybody differently or treat anybody poorly because their lifestyle is different from mine.
Yep.
I just don't do that. I think it's immoral and unethical, and it's inhumane, in my opinion.
Yep.
I don't care what your lifestyle is. I care if are you a good person.
Yeah.
If you're a good person, okay, cool. We can get along.
Yeah, man.
Not a problem.
And the butt too for a corner office.
No, not that. Black
Hey,
David,
yo.
thank you for coming. We're talking about tonight. We're talking about morals and ethics, morality. Okay, you've heard a lot tonight.
A lot.
Yeah, you heard a lot tonight, and
That's not a lot. That's a busload.
it is, it is, it is.
I'm not gonna
So
touch the argument on the church part, so I get it. When coming from a cultural background, it's kind of like a conflicting argument concerning the moral and preserving the people, their tribe, and their culture. Sometimes you will see throughout history, certain group of people have the moral code, but will end up breaking it if it's result in protecting their people if they have to, which I fully grasp and understand. Now, you had a very good argument when it comes about marijuana and aspirin, but if I remember history was corrected, there was a time cigarettes were considered illegal, drinking
no, it was
alcohol at one point, if I'm wrong, or
tobacco. You're right. You're right.
about
Tobacco was illegal. You're right. But then because they petitioned the
the,
government and they see how much money they could charge for tax, they could tax them for selling tobacco because tobacco at first wasn't illegal at all. Okay, they stole a lot of it from the Native Americans because they used to chew it and grow it and all that stuff. But then they
mhm,
made it illegal, so the Native Americans couldn't sell it as a product. But then
okay,
once other high society guys got their money up, says, "Hey, we can make money off this. We can pay you some taxes." That's when they became legal again. But you
and
had
then
a certain section of
that,
you had a certain
and
demographic of the
the
country.
same thing in history with moonshine and alcohol. When certain
Yeah,
people make
yeah,
along they find a way to get their hand on the big profit that will benefit them, it's considered illegal. Am I correct?
yeah. As long as if they can't regulate it, they'll because and it's competing with big business. They'll make it illegal, and I think that whole process is immoral, in my opinion, of course. You know,
And here's the thing: somebody asked me a question just about snuggle. What does the moral code look like to my people in Nigeria? I don't think you want to ask that question because I remember I said before in my country. Yes, after Obama, it was a law. Before Obama came there, the people deal with the alphabet people. You're not wanted. So if they find out you are one of those people, a whole entire mob will chase you. And that was the fact. I told them it's my preteen. I thought it was a joke, but it was not. Now, because of Obama, it made it work for multiple African countries. In my country, few other country, it's considered to be illegal to be part of the alphabet community. They will arrest you. Problem is, you better hold the police arrest you before the people get you. The people don't play games. That's the problem. Because what Obama did, a lot of people are filing for asylum outside the country because they knew the people were not tolerating that nonsense. Multiple African presidents don't play that game. They're not in for that. I've seen video where a CNN reporter was asking certain president of other country about change the law. That's your people, that's your culture, that's your nonsense. Here we have our own culture, we have our own tradition, we have our own way of life. We ain't gonna allow you to employ or convince us to adopt your way of living. If that's what the case, will you expect us to force you to adopt our way of living? That being said, mind your goddamn business.
that's where I fall on it. Mind your business. Who a person is attracted to or who they love, it's none of my business, and I don't
Now,
care. Like I
now
said,
here's the thing.
I care that you're a
I
good
asked this
person.
question based on moral compass. Why can't it go to UAE and Saudi Arabia and enforce that on them? Or they cannot do that because you know why? They need their money.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So let's stop the BS. America is a joke. They want to force moral compass as long as it benefit their pockets.
Of course.
That's
Really?
true. Now, Mr. Paul Bennett, thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening. You've
How you
heard a
doing,
lot
Shushu?
tonight.
Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a minute.
How you doing, Mr. Bennett?
I am swell.
You've heard a lot here tonight. What do you
Actually, I
think
kind
of?
of came in. I came in about the 45-minute mark, so I know you were talking
Oh,
like
yeah, I
moral
was-
and ethic stuff. So I wasn't. I was
Yeah.
just trying to pick up on the context up to this point.
Oh, it's because about morality. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I'll just say one of the first things I said was one of the more aggravating talking points that I've had in this debate about morality is that I've heard is that morality is subject to a person's own views. Like morality is just up to you. You have your own moral. I'm like, no, those are principles. Morality is still most moral is still moral. Principles are your own. You know what I'm saying? And
But very seldom do I ever see someone having their own principles, though. I mean, even morality, I think it's something that at the end of the day is something that is taught to us. If we didn't have some sort of codes or structures to govern us, we'd be savages, I think.
But
So
see, those are doctrines, doctrines and principles. But here's what I said at the end here. I don't believe that morals and ethics genuinely apply to the human psyche, and that's because the human psyche is subject to change and is fickle. I actually believe that morals and ethics and values have been tied into human beings since the beginning. I think you're born with a baseline understanding of right and wrong, and off that simple primitive. Like I said, again, albeit primitive baseline of right and wrong, your ability to comprehend right and wrong, that's where ethics and morals branch off of. That's why it's so important to teach a child when he's as young as possible, right and wrong, and teach them, not to cross, look both ways when you cross the street when they're very young, so these good habits can branch off of your innate understanding of right and wrong. So
but your innate self also fights against those things all the time, though.
No, that ain't your exploring.
But
I'm saying your mom and dad say don't go into the cookie jar, but still, just the fact that they said it, there's a temptation that you want to go what's in the cookie jar. So
and that's when you teach them the punishments and stuff.
It's also situational, though, and I'll say this: everybody on this panel would say they're not a thief. Let your kid go hungry.
Right.
I'm snatching some shit.
Right. Right. Right.
That was the point I was going to make, is that where does that line cross? Because I've seen it. I've seen people in dire situations that have had to do things that were immoral.
So at the end of the day,
they didn't have a choice.
Right.
So could we say it's more so it's not so much about morality, it's about utility. Utility in the sense that whatever allows you to live either as an individual or what allows you to live in the society, that then becomes the moral compass by which you operate your life. But again, it's subject to change as conditions change. If there was like a World War III and everything changed, then all the whatever laws that were in place or whatever, those go out the window. So a lot of it is about morality may be good in the sense that it allows me and you to have a conversation about allows us to live harmoniously. But again, to my man's point, if things change where I'm starving, I'm hungry or whatever, would I resort to stealing? Would I resort to doing things to make sure I could survive or take care of those who I loved? That certainly you can't say that you're above that. So I think a lot of it is about utility. What allows us to live as an individual and with one another. And I think that's sometimes that's where that flexibility will happen because things can change.
Well, yeah, that's why I said I don't think it's inherently tied to our psyche. I don't think it's genuinely applies to our psyche. You know what I mean? Because our psyche does fluctuate and change. Now, it's still immoral to steal. It is. However, when the circumstances and stuff, this is when we get into the more nuance of it. Like when Tommy brought up this example, right? I can bring up a lot of them from my own personal experiences in the Army. Mm-hmm. Okay, when do you cross the line of doing something immoral for the greater good of self-preservation? You know what I mean? But it's still immoral to steal. However, my baby hungry. What you think I'm gonna do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So no one would blame him.
Right.
Like Tommy's example, if you were to do that, no one's gonna blame you.
Well, at all, I disagree. That's the store owner will blame you.
But I think, but no. But I think you also in that situation you weigh the consequences. My baby starving, or this store missing one item. or even if it's another individual. Say if they have excess, like Tupac always say that story. If I'm knocking on the door and I'm hungry and you open up the door and you let me see all of this food in here and you telling me no, you can't handle it and you close the door, after a while I'm kicking that shit down.
No,
So
but
it just
I wanna go back to the stealing thing for a second. I would say it's unethical to steal more
Yes.
than moral. I think it's an ethical issue, right? You shouldn't steal. It's breaking the guidelines. According to the definition of ethics, it's rules and regulations. So
Mm-hmm.
it's unethical to steal, whether on a legal matter or a spiritual matter, whatever, right? But morally, right, what is your obligation? Your obligation is to your child first, right? Over the law.
Gotcha. Now, I want to get to Trey. I want to hear his thoughts on what he's heard tonight. I don't know how long you've been here, Trey. I don't know if you heard everything I said earlier tonight, but this. I think this is where it get where when we get into the nuance of it and the more advanced parts of it, that's when the gray starts coming, because depends on. I said now, obviously there are moral and ethical gray areas. As society shifts through the times, those gray areas may get either larger, or they may get smaller. Okay. There's no one area that has had more. There's no one area that's never had gray areas, except one: murder. I said murder, not killing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the only one area that has never had a gray area in human history. You know what I'm saying? Because I hit my sister with an example. If someone sticks a gun in your face, what do? Do you do the moral and ethical thing, and let them kill you, or do you fall back on your primal instincts and defend yourself?
well, hold on, because morality was broke when they put the gun to your face.
Was it?
Exactly.
See,
Yeah.
here's the thing. This is what I wanted. This is where the debate is.
No, Tom is
Where's the
absolutely
gray?
right,
This
because
is where the
here's
gray
the
is.
thing.
What
It's immoral to threaten somebody's life,
but it's
right?
also
It's
immoral for you to
immoral
take
to take
his.
life. No. It's immoral to take life, right?
Hmm?
So that doesn't just apply to you. It applies to the other person who is infringing upon your territory, about to take your life.
Okay, so how do you know?
What is the right thing to do? You just let them take it?
So how do you know that person's going to take your life? Why would you take their life before yours?
You know what? I think a better thing would be, Mandrell, is if you seen that video of the guy that came into the store. It ended up being a fake gun, but one of the customers ended up shooting him, and then after he was down, went and basically finished him off. I think that's more of a closer thing than what you're saying, and I say that because once the guy was down, there was no need to go over there and put two or three more in his head. But
Right.
that's what he chose to do.
Yeah. Shout out to we got a cash app. Shout out to Hakeem, sends us $1.08 for feeling generous today.
Yep.
Thank you, Hakeem. Thank you for your generous donation of $1.08 to us.
Listen.
That's 108 pennies.
Okay, I'm not bougie like that. Thank you on
$1.08.
behalf of Mandrell and Shushu. We appreciate that $1. Okay?
It's a
That's
dollar more than what you had.
That's 108
You know what I'm
pennies.
saying?
Sure is.
Okay.
It's just like everything else.
Let me say this, because obviously I had a job where you're dealing with moral and ethics daily.
Yeah. So as did I, Trey. And thank you for coming up here, because I'm sure you and I can go back and forth with examples all night long.
All night long, right? I'll say this. I have a daughter. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie A Time to Kill, but if something were to happen to my daughter, is it immoral for me to go take care of those guys that did something to my daughter? Probably. Do I care? Nope. Don't care one bit. I would be right in the closet just like he was in the movie, right? Because I think at the end of the day, what I've learned through my time in the military and my time, on the streets, survival trumps everything. And that people are willing to do whatever it takes to survive. And to Tommy's point about stealing, I've been in those situations where, you catch a woman coming out of a store and she's like, look, I got 2 kids and I can't feed them. And now you have to play this game of, okay, well, what do I do? She's just trying to feed her kids. You know what I mean? Like, what do I do now? And, most cases you have a heart and you let it go. But sometimes you have store owners who want to hold you to the ethics. They want to hold you to it and say, no, this is wrong. What she did was wrong. at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, well, at least in this country, as somebody stated earlier, that morally we're bankrupt, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that um, there was a lot of crap going on when this country was created, and so the
Yeah.
country was always created on bankruptcy from the beginning.
Right.
And you can try to put makeup on a pig, but that's not going to change the fact that it's a pig. It was never right from the beginning, which is why the country has never gotten better. In my opinion, it's only gotten worse. And some of the politicians are some of the most morally corrupt people I've ever seen. And I say that having a congressman in my family. They're some of the worst people I've ever seen. And what they are willing to do, what they are willing to take uh, in order to to get to that position, what they're willing to do is it's unbelievable. Some of them, and I encourage people.
Yeah,
I encourage people.
yeah,
If you've never watched the show Suits, watch the show Suits.
yeah.
It'll give you a very small glimpse into the life of what people that are in these powerful positions, what they're willing to do, and how they don't have a morality code and they don't have ethics when it comes to their ass being in the line of fire. They will get rid of all of that to save
Okay.
themselves or to save somebody that they care about. So obviously, at the end of the day, it really is, it's tough. But I do agree with you, Mandrell. The deeper you go into this, the grayer it gets. I've
Yeah.
been in a situation where I've had to choose my life or yours.
I have too. I've literally had that. Literally been in a situation. I either have to take this person out, or my comrades are probably gonna take me out. You know
Or
what I'm
not
saying?
even that,
So it's like, okay, what do you do here?
Not
know what
only
I'm
that
saying?
though, Mandrell, a lot of them people over there, I think what a lot of people over here don't understand is I'm at my house and there are people from another country in my fucking city walking through my backyard. And so while people over here look at it like, oh my God, they're shooting at me, it's like if you walk outside and soldiers from another country was walking down your street, what the fuck you about to do?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Right, exactly. Like, we are an invading force in a foreign country. Like,
Mhm.
you think everyone's gonna be okay with this?
Right. Yeah.
And to like Yell's point with the whole stealing thing, like when Hurricane Katrina happened, like my sister and I's father was in the National Guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was E9, and he was down there in Louisiana, and he had some of his guys with him, and they saw some people looting a grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so his guys asked him, Sergeant Harris, what do we do? He said, he looked over and he's like, nothing. He said, why? He said, I can't arrest a man for wanting to feed his family.
Right. Yeah.
They were in there looting food. He said, I can't
Mhm.
arrest a man for wanting to feed his family.
Right.
So he made everybody walk on past it.
Right.
So, it's his duty to stop looters and stuff like that. But in my opinion, from my perspective, when I see that, because I've seen the same scenario, and turns out I made the same decision. This is before I talked to him. You know what I'm saying? Before I talked to him, we exchanged stories, for a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I was in the same situation. I told him about mine, and I was like, yeah, I didn't do anything. He said, I didn't see looters. I saw some people who were just trying to survive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because look at the environment. What else are they going to do?
Right.
There's no help here. Ain't no help coming. So,
Right.
It's like, to me, was that ethical or moral? I thought so. I mean, because I agree with Trey. Survival trumps all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to live. You have a right to fight for your survival. You have a right to fight for your right to live. So who am I to tell you not to if you're not hurting anybody else? And that's my thing. Even with people with certain lifestyles, I'm like, are they hurting anybody? No. Okay, then leave them alone. So what?
My butt don't hurt.
Right. Thank you, Tommy. Like, why you
That's
bothering?
terrible.
They're not bothering anybody.
Lord, seriously.
I don't understand what the big deal is. Leave them alone. Let them mind your business. They mind theirs.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean,
Hold on, like.
Let me add to it because before Tommy dropped down bomb on me with that, I think this is what we have a problem with the country. When people trying to bring the moral high ground, we don't realize we live in a country that's so much contradiction. It just get out of hand. Because one moment You want to push this about your personal lifestyle. That's your life, like you said. That's your lifestyle. That's fine. Leave me alone about that. I don't care what you do. But when you go to the point where you're trying to enforce it on other people, then you crossing the line. Same thing with Christian faith. I told people right on the back, if you're a Christian, that's just you. That's your lifestyle. Don't try to force it on somebody else. So when you go to that limit of trying to force your religion belief on somebody else, you are crossing the line. Even the book said it's not something to force upon other people to give freely.
Yeah.
Shake the dust
It
off
was
the abuse.
Yeah. And here's
bingo. And that's the biggest contradiction. I want people to go to this moral argument and ask them this question. You want people to take your view of things. Let's say that you turn around on the other side. You accept the other person's view of things. If you cannot accept it, don't force it onto somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
because that's exactly what you're doing by telling them they're wrong. You're
Right.
forcing your
And
point of
and
view onto other
I'm glad
people
you
and
mentioned
telling them you're
I'm glad you
wrong.
mentioned your military experience because you say you went to another
Right,
country
and you're
and
demanding
you're
that they don't
invading.
force their ideas on you, but you're doing the exact same thing to them by telling them they're wrong. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's your point of view. They don't see it that way. So you're
but when
trying to force them to live a certain way that appeases you.
right, but
No.
when we're talking about religion, whatever religion it may be, when we're talking about organized religion, that is unethical because it disrupts the way people's natural way of life, and it's also immoral because it has really degraded society, right? I mean, if we look at how the church has, I mean, like look, 90% of the women in there are unmarried, single, right? They tell you that you're forgiven no matter what you do, you are forgiven, which people translate is no matter what you do, there's no consequences,
Yeah.
right? That is lying.
Right. Yeah.
That is immoral. That is lie. That is straight
I get what you're
lying.
saying, but
So
the thing is, their lifestyle is natural too. Every mammal, especially every living creature on this planet,
no,
especially mammals.
religion is not normal.
I know what I'm saying is every living creature on this planet, especially mammals, has its alternative community. Every single one. So we
No,
can't make we cannot
no,
make the argument that you can't make the
no.
argument and say it's not natural.
It's not natural. Well, I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
I'm just saying
I
every
think
single
No,
you
one,
know what, we ain't
no.
all of
signing.
them, all
I
of
think
them
a
got
better
it,
I think a
and
better
it's not
argument for
natural.
you ain't signing is all the wars that start over religion. Shit, that right there
Well,
alone.
well,
There
I
you
mean, but
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's also part of it, right? When you look at the wars, when you look at how people were colonized and taken over, majority of that, especially in the ancient world, was based on religion.
Yeah, and wars in the name of God, which is ridiculous. Let's get to this cash up. We have another cash up from Hakeem the Dream. Forget this, y'all. $9.92 for just kidding. Owe you one. Because remember he sent
Now
that
see,
dollar
but
and then
now
he
you got
said,
the whole. But now
now I
you
got
got
the
the
whole
whole
10.
ten.
Right, now I got
Now
the
you
whole
got the
10.
whole. See, it all works.
Right. Thank you,
Everybody gives a
Hakeem.
little something, and it makes a whole. That's it.
Thank you, Hakeem.
No.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Now
but
hit
Thank you so
the
much.
I want
That's what.
to
See,
add
that's
this
what
point.
true ethics and morality does. It brings the
That
whole. It
is.
brings the whole together.
Well,
That's
I want to say this though.
Here's where I
I am
stand on
not.
this
Can I hold? I just want to say one thing really quickly, and I'll be quiet.
Yeah, you
I'm
finish
not
it. We'll get to Trey.
anti-Bible. I'm not anti-Bible. I'm not anti-God or anything like that. I'm just against the idea of religion. Like I just want to make that clear because I do believe in the Bible. I do believe in one God and all that. Shalom to my Hebrews out there.
All
I'll
right.
pass it back.
Now
I
No,
know
no,
let me
no.
get
Hold on. Let's let Trey go
the
and
point
get
of
his point.
the point of tolerance was brought up, and you know, one of the things with tolerance is having been somebody who's had to take hate crime reports. One of the things that I've seen is that I think sometimes a lot of people like to view this from their bubble, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm not the person that's out there doing that to these people. I'm not the person that's out there doing it to people. But if you take a step back and look at it from a larger point, there are just people who are willing to actually physically hurt people that don't think and somebody might
I think it's Black David. Mute yourself, Black David,
oh
if you don't mind.
sorry about
No problem.
thanks.
Go ahead.
But you know, there's just groups of people who are willing to enact violence on people that they don't agree with, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they don't like that the way that they're living. And so what I think is sometimes you'll see a government, particularly during Obama's time in office, where they want to try to do something about it. So they are pushing tolerance on people. Right now, Should they? That's for you to decide whether or not they should not, right? You can decide that personally, right? But I can understand the need to, because I've been in those situations where I pulled up on a scene and seen somebody's head cracked open because they were transgender, or because they were, they were this or they were that. And so I can understand where the need for wanting to push that on people, because there are people who are human, just like you and I, who have the same value, just like you and I, are being hurt simply because they don't agree or they don't live a certain lifestyle that the masses live.
Right, and here's the thing.
I'm glad you.
Here's the
I'm
thing.
glad you
Hold on.
mentioned that.
And
Okay.
here's the thing: we don't. Here's the thing that I hypothesize: we don't know if we straight people are the masses, because so many people still to this day
What are you
hide that
talking
part of
about?
themselves. Wait, hold on. So many people to this day hide that part about themselves, so we don't actually know the numbers. No one's counting.
Mandrell, we know we the masses.
Guys,
Stop.
come on, hold on.
Just
I have
saying.
to say this because now it's getting insane. If everyone is alternative lifestyle, population as we know it would
I
stop
didn't say
growing.
everybody.
Well, the
You said
masses.
majority. You said
Majority.
Okay, no, I didn't. Look, I'm not trying to rationalize or put logic into it.
Well,
I said all I said
my point
was we don't actually know the
hold on.
numbers.
My point is this: mathematically, if the majority of people were alternative
I get what you're
lifestyle,
saying, we ain't signing, and
majority of
I
people
think
could
you're
not
correct.
breed, and we could not get 8 billion people on the planet.
Mandrell, if your numbers got up to 30% our population, like
well,
we
you
would
don't
like
even have to.
that would
You
be
don't even have to
insane.
go there. I mean, we
No,
already
I'm
see
not
what's
saying
happening in China now.
I'm not saying you guys are wrong.
If every person had only one child, eventually the population would die off. If everyone was 100% heterosexual, but you only had one kid,
Right,
the population would die off.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so again, so to Greensign
So
and Tom's
that's
point, I mean, it doesn't have to be a large number.
right.
But,
So
yeah.
it's mathematically impossible.
That's also assuming that these people are exclusively homosexual.
There you go.
That's
That's what I'm saying. They have
yeah.
that part. A lot of
Just
people today hide
just
that.
because you're going on both sides doesn't. I mean,
So
there are plenty of people that are bisexual. And they
even
have
with the
kids, and they
quote unquote
they sleep with
bisexual
same sex.
argument, even with the quote unquote bisexual argument, if majority of people were quote unquote bisexual, like Mr. Bennett said, right, it will be a decrease in children.
Okay, fair enough. Moving along.
Now, before we move along, I
Black
want to
David,
add the
you
argument.
had something to say?
I want to add to what Trey was saying about people's lifestyle. If you want to go back in history, it was a time in the country interracial relationship was illegal at one point. Was it not?
So very recently.
Very recently.
Loving case 1970.
That law is still in the books here in Alabama. It's just not enforced.
Wow.
They're not having kids; they're adopting kids.
No, we're not talking about alternative lifestyle.
Interracial.
No. She says same-sex couples still having kids to the population. No, they are adopting.
He read
kids.
the chat.
Two dudes cannot give birth to a child.
Okay,
come on.
Yeah, he in the chat. Black David, please continue, sir.
Like I was trying to say earlier, where Trey had an excellent point, but when you go back to history, there was a time that they were persecuting people who were dating outside their race, whereby a black person was not allowed to date a white person and vice versa until it became legal, so to speak. So if you look at society, somewhere down the line, people have been making up rules that will fit their own narrative to either control the population or to quote unquote protect their tribe. If you want to say that. Same thing applies in my country. In my country, I'm from the Yoruba tribe. We were told not to mingle with the Igbo or not to mingle with the there is dated 100 years back. Before we had 50 countries, there were 5 kingdoms in Africa, which means we had different clans. Yoruba was part of the clan of their own. And then might well call it's a deep level history to talk about. I'm not gonna go into that. But in that same aspect, you have people who go against each other based on tribe or clan. Same thing Japan. The Han family, they were this particular family. Look at history. I studied history back in high school, and I was studying Chinese history. You know how many tribes got killed off because of beef dated back 100, 200 years until one tribe had to survive?
Right.
So imagine that type of mindset.
And then the people don't even remember what they're fighting over.
Right.
Like if you look at the Igbo and the Yoruba tribe, like when you look at them, I'm like, what's the difference? What's the difference? I mean, I can't. I'm like, why are you guys beefing?
And they tell us young kids, don't marry a Igbo woman, don't marry a Houghton, don't marry one from Ghana, don't marry one from. I'm like, yo, like, real. Now the younger generation, you could be from Nigeria, you might as well from South Africa. It's no big deal, but back then, it was a massive big deal.
When I joined the military, my grandmother told me if she can't use your comb, don't bring her home. That's exactly what she said to me. I'll never forget it. I was 19 years old. I'll never forget her telling me that.
Trey, please don't say that again. That thing took me off guard.
That's the first. Never heard that one.
Right.
That's what she said. I was getting ready to go off. I was on my way for MEPS, and she said, I just have one little thing I need to say to you.
Tonight, get some Q-tip and clean your ear out.
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what she said. I'll never forget it.
If she can't use your comb, don't bring her home.
She said, if she can't use your comb, don't bring her home.
Wow. We ain't signing. What you had to add? We ain't signing.
Can I just please respond to the text at the bottom of the screen?
Why would you want to? Why are you responding to the chat? Man?
All right, I'll let it go, man. But I mean, people on some insane shit time. But anyway, as far as interracial dating is, I approve it. Like alternative lifestyle, I also approve that, man. Be who you want to be and be the best version of it. Right? I mean, I think all this thing about trying to put people in a box and things like that, making this oppressive lifestyle, it's insane. Let people do, as long as you're not hurting other people, of course.
Yeah.
Let people do.
But that's the issue, isn't it?
No.
If you want to,
everything is about perceived hurt. Like all what we're talking about, it's about how you. It's about how you perceive it. So you say you're hurting me by just being out and about, or you're hurting my eyes by me having to look at you holding hands with the same sex person. Right? So everyone's defining that differently.
I'm glad you said that, because
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's how people get around what you're saying.
That's
what you're saying.
I get it, and I can appreciate this sentiment, right? Because if I saw Mandrell getting it from the back, it would hurt my eyes too.
You wouldn't see that.
What the fuck?
You wouldn't see that.
Wow.
Hey, why would you?
At the end of the day, when he does, is none of my business.
Hey man, Jeffrey Dahmer was in the army.
Hey.
Wow.
Hey, y'all ain't never living that down.
You're not gonna let us live. Yeah, you're not gonna let us live it down, man.
Hey, look, somebody said in the chat that my grandmother wasn't wrong. She was wrong. She absolutely was wrong. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why she was wrong. Because her great grandfather was a white man. So she's absolutely wrong. And I don't know where she got that from, and I don't know why she decided to tell me that before I went into MEPS, but she was wrong. So one of the first women that I dated was a white woman.
Hey, Trey.
Just because she told me not to.
Maybe she came up that rules because of him.
Right. No, you're probably right, Tommy. I mean, to this day, I don't understand. I mean,
here's the thing too, Trey. I don't think, and I mean, if you came up like in a later, era, too, there was a point in time where a black man would be murdered for being with a white woman. You know what I'm saying? So it was always taught like, don't do that. Like, don't do that. And so, like, even looking at a white woman, you be murdered. You know what I mean? So yeah, a black mama's gonna tell her black son, black grandson, all of them, don't do that. They ain't gonna be nothing but trouble.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me add to this. Look at UAE, Saudi Arabia. We here in America like to show a lot of PDA, right? We hold hands, we kissing. Over there, Trey know this. Trey know this very well. You just do ching.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
They don't.
If you wear a mini skirt,
right, yeah. I've heard about that. Like even though you're American, if you're a woman, you go over there, like you still have to have your shoulders covered.
Yep.
Like you can't wear like a sleeveless nothing. Like yo, you still gotta don't matter. Like so what? You American, you over here now. You in our country.
They don't care your Beyonce. Over there, you get 21 lashes.
I
And the
was
thing
in
is,
I was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and at the time my girlfriend was there with me too. And I remember we were going to go off base for a little while, and one of our captains told her make sure she gets in the back seat.
yeah, here's the thing: if you're in
I was
Saudi
like, yeah,
Arabia,
because that's the law.
yeah, in
Women
Saudi
women not allowed
Arabia,
to ride in the
they're
front
in the
seat.
front seat. And then they have to walk like 5 feet behind the husband. Yeah, they have to walk 5 feet. They have to be completely covered, so no man can even see her to lust after her. If she's a wife, the wife has to walk 5 feet behind the husband. There's all kind of crazy stuff going on. That place, Saudi Arabia, is so crazy. We've seen people leave Lamborghinis on the side of the road, call somebody transportation to pick them up. They go right to the dealership and buy another one. Like they won't tow it, the other one or nothing. They'll just leave it there the whole
Dubai.
time. Huh?
Got more
First,
money
first
than
time,
looking
I
at
first
said
time,
you.
Dubai,
first time,
fucking
Right. They're
Mercedes-Benz
just
taxi cabs in Dubai. I'm like, what the
right.
fuck?
But I mean, what I'm saying is
first time I
they'll
ever
leave a
saw a
Lamborghini on the
golden
side of the road.
toilet.
They'll leave it. They won't go back to get it. They won't go back to get it ever. It'll sit there forever if no one comes and picks it up. They
Yeah,
just call the
them money's
transport, go buy another one.
But
yeah,
Mandrell, can you do
them
it?
money's
Can you
different in
drive
the
it?
Middle East.
Yeah. Huh?
But can you take the car and drive it yourself if it's not yours?
That's stealing, Black David.
No,
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
there are some people who
But you get my point, though, right?
business in that.
I
They take
see
it
what
up.
your point.
They take it up.
Okay.
Let's
Is
see
it
what
stealing? Is it
People
stealing if it
say
doesn't
when a
belong
man
to
perform
somebody?
for an hour got like $22 million to perform
Yeah.
for an hour.
But here's the joke. Why don't I go over there and put their view on those folks over there?
Well, they're
Because they know
trying though.
better.
They're trying. The American government is trying.
Try.
They're trying.
They can't try not because you know why? Let's be
Shit,
honest.
you ever heard of Dubai, Black David? That is like the Las Vegas of the Middle East.
It
I
is.
know.
It's way looser there.
But here's the problem. As long that America is still getting money from Dubai and these big power hungry countries that got that money, they can't put too much of their so-called opinion on them. They'll let them get to a certain limit. But when you cross that threshold, they'll tell you, hey, either you stop right there or we pulling a plug.
Well, no, but it's about
Financially speaking.
it's about small steps, right? Because before women are not allowed to drive, but now they're allowed to drive, right? Recently, the last 5 years or so, right? So it's about baby steps.
I know
Right?
that one's okay.
You know,
That one's okay, but there's other stuff, you cannot.
but that's how it starts. That's how it starts to impeding and pushing your lifestyle on others, right? You start with the most acceptable small baby steps types of things, right? And now, is that ethical? Is that moral? Because when we look at all these things, it always goes back to Alexander the Great and the manifesto, right? And the Hellenization of the planet, right? Making, regardless of color, skin, race, whatever, the mind and thought needs to be Greek, right?
Right.
The Hellenization of the planet. So, you start with the baby stuff, things that people can easily accept, right? And you take it from there.
Makes sense. Good point.
Also, when you add in social media, a lot of these countries where they don't get to see, or they don't get to live the lifestyle that we live, they can see how we're living, and they want to live especially the women, they want to live the way that American women are living, the UK women are living, and so social media is going to help speed up that process with sort of our ideals being pushed in other countries because they're just going to keep looking at me. It's already started with the way they dress. I know last time I was there, I saw a ton of young kids wearing Jordans. You know what I mean? Like it's already started. Yeah, they were dressing like how we dress here.
You do got a point, but here what I think about. Some of these countries that follow a particular religion, it's hard to push back against that. Other Dubai, Saudi Arabia, all these Islamic built country is something I know firsthand because in my country you have a little religious war whereby the people of the north are from Islam and people at the south are Christian. We don't go there and put our view. They come in time to like, no, we're not allowing it. So I can imagine when you make a particular threshold, the religious leader will tell the rulers, if you let this go too far, people who are backing you will have a problem. And these rulers 9 times out of 10 don't want to lose their so-called support.
Right.
That's why I said I get it, I understand it, but living the life I live in my country, whereby I have 2 uncles who are multi-millionaire and they got connected with the government, I see how things run. Certain people have certain pull. UAE, Saudi Arabia, yes, they got the money, they're allowing to work to a certain degree, but remember, they got their religious leaders who have a huge back and they need that support either way. So when they get in their ear and tell them, hey, you're going a little bit too far right now. The people who support, who will fight for you, who will lose their life for you, are questioning your leadership. Now, you don't want that to happen. 'Cause look at Iran. How often they got to a place whereby the whole countryside north, screw you, you're yanking you out, you get someone to replace you. There's some country have done that. When they feel like enough is enough, they got to push back. History repeat itself.
Right.
Like David,
Yeah.
you're talking about the religious leadership. You talked about Islam and the Christian side. I'd be interested, or I think it may be worth your while to really look at um, Africa before those major faiths or religions came to the continent. I'd be curious to know what society was like or what things were like then, because
That
it's
one
almost
was
like you're
more
saying that
idol
there's
worship. It
things
was more idol worship. It was more toward idol
right,
worship. It
right. But
wasn't like Islam.
was there war, and was there more chaos?
The chaos is more based on tribal issue on a different level, whereby but it's based on a particular ruler at that time,
Mm,
based on what they have done. And I've been trying to get those information in the book for a year before I left that country. It just recently did not find all the hidden books or what tribe belonged to what particular kingdom at the time.
right,
And
right.
you have this thing, the movie called The Woman King. It just give you a peek to the big history that people have been keeping hidden for many years. So yes, I've been told most war in Africa is based on tribal it's between leaders. What was done between both of them. It was a mutual agreement or they would betray whatever it was, that would mostly fight over. And to me, it was no different than China. It's like it's almost similar in mindset because there's always got to be some kind of idiotic beef that will force one tribe to annihilate another tribe or force their tribe going into slavery, which is no different what happened within the Greeks and no different what happened in China. 'Cause I study history and I find it's like it's deja vu.
Right.
So I can't be
Okay.
like, oh, they won't. People are different based on different demographic.
Yeah.
So okay, we're gonna move on to final thoughts. And Black David, with your final thoughts, what do you think the moral and ethical problems are? Like morally and ethically, for your final
Is it
thoughts.
my turn?
Yeah, for your final thoughts, how do you think your people justify genocide of another all of the same race and basically the same people? How do they morally and ethically? How do they justify that from
Man,
the perspective of morals and ethics?
that have been a year-long journey of asking questions from the right people because when being told these things, I'll make it short. All my uncle can tell me is it all fall on the leader head at that time. If you consider it just, it's just, even though it's barbaric.
Mm.
And it's crazy.
Hmm.
Even to this day right now, I'm glad most of these so-called cultural norms have been broken down to a certain degree, but there's still some people fighting against it.
Yeah.
They don't want people to intermingle among tribe based on some past history beef, which is long gone.
Right.
This is why you have a new generation trying to move away from that.
Right.
But it's not that easy because remember what I say, a lot of these people come from prominent family that have generation wealth, which is tied to it. So they can't, morally speaking, they have to stick to their gun as long as they can get that generation wealth to pass down to them so they can pass down to the next generation because they don't want to get cut off, which is true. Now, those
Okay.
who are not from a prominent family don't really care. So it's like a scale.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so you have some people who recognize that it's morally wrong and ethically wrong what they're doing, so they're trying to change it. But you have some people of the what of the upper class who don't really care, and
Mm.
they'll stick with it if they
And that's the problem.
can. But
There's no middle class. That's the problem.
okay,
There's no middle
gotcha.
class. There's the upper
Well,
class and the
and then
ruling
there's
class.
poor.
That we call
There's
it
upper
ruling
class, and
class,
yeah, there's a ruling class, and then there's everyone else.
pretty
Right.
much.
Gotcha. All right, thank you, Blake David. Appreciate
Mm,
it. Now we ain't signing.
I am
We
here.
ain't signing. Final thoughts. I'm not giving my final thoughts as of yet, sir. So there we go. Final thoughts. Shout out to you for all the way from China. Thank you for
Yep.
coming. Your input is always. I told you, your input is always welcome here, brother.
Right.
Anytime you're
Thank you.
ready.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. So first, thank you for allowing me on the show. Good seeing you guys again. It's been a while.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
special shout out to Mr. Bennett and Shushu. We're still waiting for that podcast. So just to let you know. So yeah, I mean, this was a very insightful and enlightening topic. You know, when it comes down to morals and ethics, it's quite tricky and things can get a little bit complicated and the waters can get murky depending on, you know, the situation. So I just say fuck it, ignore them all and just kind of do what you want to do. Let's get Babylonian up in here and,
Not
you know,
Babylon.
yeah, let's get Babylonian up in this piece and enjoy the ride, you know, and just pray you know, just enjoy the ride. And that's all I have to say. Take care. And my last point is, right, the most important thing is you and your happiness as long as you're not hurting anybody. So get your money up, get your health up, get that passport up, and we're out of here.
All right, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. We ain't signing.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Paul Bennett.
Hey.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry you missed. You didn't get a chance to make it for the earlier parts of it. I mean, I thought I had some pretty good.
I'm gonna go back and watch.
Pretty good notes here. Yes, I thought so. But
Yeah.
all right. So, what are your final thoughts, sir?
Well, it's one thing I've said in the past. A lot of people equate religion and morality together, and I don't think they necessarily go together. I think an atheist can be moral. In fact, I've found some of the most moral people in the world to be atheist. You know, because it has to deal with what you view as being right and wrong. And I don't think you necessarily need a religion for that. But at the same time, I would say that for a lot of people, especially atheists like in America or certainly in the Western world, I don't think you necessarily run away from religion either, because your views of right and wrong more than likely have been shaped by something or some foundational principles, whether it be the 10 Commandments or whatever, or what you grew up with. You can't avoid the fact that there might be some religious influence if you're in the Western world, you know, Christian influence, or in the Eastern world, you know, with the Chinese religions or Hindu or whatever. I mean, they're all grounded in something. So again, no, I don't think no one comes into this world moral. And I think the last points towards the end of the show was like that. It's like before religions, you had the tribal stuff going on where people were just justifying killing one another, deleting one another, you know, just for some reason. So, you know, I think humanity just overall, you know, we're just not the only morality that really drives us is survival. And so, you know, I think generally speaking, I think morality overall, regardless of where it comes from, whether it comes from religion or not, I think ultimately, I think it's been, for the most part, good for society as a whole. Yes, there's flaws with it. Yes, there's hypocrisy with it. But I think we would be in a very different and dark place if we didn't have it at all. So I appreciate for what it does. But I think, you know, as we talk about religion and morality just overall, I think that we really need to focus more on what are our aims in either promoting it or wanting it in society. Like, what is at the end of the day? And I think there's an individual component, and there's also a collective component. How do we live peaceably with one another? How can society function as harmoniously as it can with one another? Start with the high principles, and then we can look at the law, so to speak, which is basically legislated morality. What laws make sense and which ones don't? So, and there's a lot of laws that, as you said earlier, there's a lot of laws that's still on the books that we have to ask ourselves, is this moral, or is this really helping people to get along with one another? Or is it simply just trying to hold on to something that, you know, that keeps people divided or keeps people from really being able to function freely in the society? So I think that as we look at this, we got to think about what's the goal here. You know, for me and you, we can live in a society, we can have a community, we can have, you know, our kids can go to school, we can grow up and be, you know, be functioning adults and achieve what we want to in society without affecting other people. So I think if more of the conversation focuses on that, what do we want? And if we want people to have the rights to be themselves, then I think the morality should reflect that. And I would judge whether or not it's good or not based on it, you know, what your aims are. So I think that's where it, you know, goes. But we can list all the hypocritical things that have been done. But I think we do better just to bring it back to what do we want here, and I think we all be better off.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I thought I made some good points. You made some very good points here tonight, and I agree with all that too. Yeah, because I mean, some of the stuff you said, I kind of they're related to some of the things I said earlier. You know what I mean? But thank you for coming up. You're always
Appreciate you
welcome
guys.
on
Absolutely.
Unapologetic. Thank you for tuning
Yes, sir.
in, man. Thank you for participating. Appreciate it.
That's next time.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. All right, Shu.
All right.
It is time for us to get off and go do grown folk stuff.
Right.
Tomorrow's
Like,
a new
be
day.
responsible.
Yeah, gotta be responsible. You know, and ethical and moral.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you think of tonight's show? What you think?
I thought it was really good. It was a really good topic. Talk about morals and ethics and all of that. I mean, when it comes to morals, like I do agree with you. There are certain things like instinctually that we are born with. Survival is one of them. Survival doesn't always fall within the confines or the guidelines of more what we are taught is moral. I do think morals should be taught though, because without it, we just be brutal, just a bunch of barbarians running around here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'd be Mad Max out here.
It would. Like you have to have something like to keep like some kind of structure somewhere, because people doing whatever they want to do because I feel like it's right. Like nah. But in the end, your primal instinct will kick in. Survival always has, always will. Because
fight or
that's
flight.
just it's in us, and there's nothing. I mean, you know.
Fight or flight response.
Right. But yeah, I would say when it comes to morals, you know, get some, have some somewhere, even if you don't follow a religion, so to speak. Most religious practices, though, have similar principles when it comes to certain issues and certain things. So,
and ideas on morality too.
It does do with morality.
Same philosophies on morality. A lot
but
of religions have
it's important and it's necessary because it gives you boundaries, and boundaries are necessary to keep people from going too far.
Yeah, it does. Shout out to OG Patrice in the chat.
Oh, what's going on, OG Patrice?
Yeah.
I've been trying to stay out of the chat. Soft snuggles.
Right, because the chat they'll get you, won't they?
Okay.
Next week, everybody, I'm trying to put together a different type of show, trying to get a special guest on. Okay. And a special guest or two on. You know, they're available. So I want to say the title and the context and the subject matter of the show, if I can book it, you know what I'm saying, for sure. And then you guys will see the thumbnail. So tune in for that. I think it'll be very interesting. I think you'll be interested in seeing me have this conversation because you guys have never seen me have this conversation before. And you see, I decided to get rid of the bravado and all the antics, you know what I'm saying, and just be myself.
Okay.
So no characterizations of me, no caricatures of myself anymore. It's just gonna be me.
Rebranding.
Not rebranding. I mean, the thing is, I got a brand as a woman hater at one point in time. I'm like, where in the world y'all get that? Because I don't subscribe to any of the red pill talking points on dating and relationships. Like none of them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was like, where'd y'all get that from? But guilty by association. That's what it was at that time. So, but I don't need that in life. I don't need people thinking I'm a jerk.
Right.
You know, so.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for watching. And tune in next week. I think it's gonna be a home run. Yeah, it's gonna be a surprise. It's gonna be a home run.
A definite surprise.
Listen, if I can get my guests up here, y'all are in for one.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, you've never met this guest, but he's fantastic. Absolutely singular. Absolutely fantastic. You'll see. All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, y'all.